So you want to own a vending machine. You have fed one $1, watched the coil spin, waited for the thud. Somewhere behind that glass, a machine you never see is quietly making somebody money all day, with nobody standing there to ring you up. You look at that and you think one thing: buy the box, put it somewhere, collect the coins forever. And you are half right. You can buy the box for a few $1,000s. But almost nobody who fails at this business fails because of the box. They fail because they never actually bought the thing that matters, which is not a machine. It is a spot on somebody else's floor. And that spot belongs to whoever signs the contract for it, not whoever owns the machine sitting on it. Here is the reframe that explains this entire industry. A vending machine is not a retail business. It is a real estate business conducted at the scale of 1 square foot. And the landlord can evict you for any reason at all. So let us build one properly. What the machine costs, what the location actually costs, and who really controls the money once it starts moving. Then the part nobody puts in the brochure. Because this specific business has attracted more federal fraud cases than almost any other small business category in America. And one recent version of it ran past $200 million. Start with why this business keeps pulling people in, decade after decade, despite that history. The American vending industry generates on the order of $18 billion a year. Every one of those dollars gets fed into a machine, a coin or a card at a time, by somebody who never once wonders who actually owns it. That combination, real and enormous demand, paired with genuinely low startup cost, is what makes vending look like the easiest business in the country to break into. Start with the machine itself, because it is the easy part. A used snack or drink machine runs $1,200 to $3,000. New, with modern cashless payment, $3,000 to $10,000. Smart machines, with touchscreens, remote inventory tracking, and dynamic pricing, run $6,000 to $25,000 or more. Add delivery, a card reader, initial inventory and a security deposit, and a single machine operation can launch for $2,000 to $12,000 all in. Specialty machines push that range higher. Cotton candy, phone cases, anything with novelty built into the product can run into the tens of thousands once inventory and custom software are included. But across almost every category, the equipment itself is financeable, resellable, and rarely the reason an operator actually fails. That is genuinely one of the cheapest businesses in this entire series to start. You could buy the equipment this afternoon, which is exactly why it is not the equipment that decides whether you succeed. Now, the part that actually determines everything, and it happens before the machine is even delivered. You do not simply place a vending machine somewhere. You sign a location agreement, and inside that agreement is a number called the commission. That commission is a percentage of your gross sales, paid to whoever controls the floor your machine sits on. Not your profit, your gross. Typical rates run 5 to 20%. Offices often land around 5 to 15. Schools and hospitals with captive audiences and higher bargaining power can run 15 to 30. A few small locations, offices under 50 people, small gyms, waiting rooms will accept a machine for free, simply as a convenience for their own staff. Larger accounts often require a formal bidding process entirely, especially schools, universities, and government buildings. A request for proposal has to be filed and won competitively before a single machine can be delivered. Win one of those contracts, and it can place 20 or 30 machines across a district at once. Lose it, and you have spent weeks on paperwork for nothing. But the moment a location has leverage, or multiple operators competing for it, the commission climbs, and you are effectively bidding for shelf space you do not own. Now watch what that commission actually does to your incentive to improve the business, because this is the part almost nobody models correctly. Say a machine grosses $500 a month at a 20% commission. You optimize the product mix, add cashless payment, and grow it to $800. Your commission payment did not stay flat. It grew right alongside the sales, from $100 to $160. The location captured 60% of the entire revenue improvement you engineered. You did the work. They took most of the upside, which means the contract you sign on day one, when you have the least leverage and the least data, quietly determines your returns for the entire life of that placement. A well-negotiated contract also locks in exclusivity, meaning the location cannot simply let a competitor place a second machine 6 feet from yours the moment your sales look good. Skip that clause, and your best performing location becomes the one most likely to attract a rival operator, undercutting your commission. Most new operators negotiate the machine's features for a week and skim the commission clause in about 30 seconds. Some operators respond by offering a flat monthly rent instead of a percentage, $50 to $200, when a location's traffic is genuinely unpredictable. That trades a variable cost for a fixed one, which can work in your favor if the machine ends up doing far better than either side expected. Now, the invisible machine underneath the visible one, because this business is not really about vending at all. It is a logistics and territory problem wearing a vending machine as a costume. An individual machine is nearly worthless without its location contract attached. Buy a used machine with no placement, and you own an appliance, not a business. Buy an existing route, machines plus signed location agreements plus a service history, and you are buying something closer to a small annuity. Routes typically sell for 1 to 2 times annual net profit. A route netting $4,000 a year might sell for $6,000 to $12,000. The premium for a diversified route, no single account above 30% of revenue, long written contracts, newer equipment, is real and it is significant. You are not really pricing machines. You're pricing the durability of a set of contracts with people who can cancel most of them on short notice. Good operators track this the way a landlord tracks lease expirations, not the way a retailer tracks inventory. The question that actually matters is never how many machines you own. It is how many years of signed access to floor space you are currently sitting on. Now, the part that makes this specific business unusually dangerous, and it is not a location dispute, it is who is selling you the opportunity in the first place. The low cost of entry that makes vending attractive to a first-time small business owner is the exact same feature that makes it attractive to a fraud. The Federal Trade Commission has run entire nationwide sweeps aimed specifically at vending machine business opportunities. One was literally named after the pattern: promised earnings that never showed up. The playbook repeats with almost no variation across decades of these cases. Advertise guaranteed monthly income per machine, sell the machines, sometimes at a steep markup, along with the promise of prime locations. Then simply never deliver real locations, or deliver locations with no meaningful foot traffic at all. The Federal Trade Commission's own franchise rule exists specifically to prevent this. Sellers of a business opportunity are legally required to hand over a written disclosure document and substantiation for any earnings claim before money changes hands. Case after case in this industry involves defendants who simply skipped that requirement entirely and sold the dream anyway. One federal case detailed operators promising specific numbers: $50,000 a year, $150 to $250 per machine per month, with testimonials to match. Consumers who invested recovered little to none of what they were promised. That pattern is old. What happened more recently was not. Federal prosecutors charged defendants in a water vending machine scheme that investors themselves described as the largest franchise fraud case in the history of the United States. The company issued bonds to investors, backed by supposedly real water vending machines placed across the country. Thousands of the machines used as collateral for those bonds did not exist. Tens of millions of dollars in bond proceeds were allegedly misappropriated, even after the operators internally acknowledged the fraud to at least one fund manager. That fund manager did not disclose the problem to his own investors. He directed $19 million more into the same failing scheme, some of which reportedly flowed back to him personally. It is worth sitting with that detail for a moment. He already knew. And the money kept moving anyway, because stopping it would have meant admitting the first loss out loud. Total losses across the scheme ran past $200 million. Notice what made this possible. The underlying business model is genuinely real, genuinely cheap to enter, and genuinely hard for an outside investor to verify. Nobody drives around the country counting vending machines before they wire the money. The whole appeal of passive income is that you are trusting someone else's description of an asset you will never personally inspect. That is not a flaw specific to one bad operator. It is a structural weakness built into the pitch itself. If this breakdown is useful, subscribe. It genuinely helps. Now, the ordinary risks, the ones that show up even when nobody is lying to you: machines break, compressors fail on refrigerated units, bill validators jam, card readers stop syncing, and every one of those failures sits unrepaired until you physically drive there. Location loss is not rare, and it is rarely negotiable. A property changes management, a competitor undercuts your commission, or a location simply decides it wants its wall space back, and your machine's income goes to zero with a phone call you do not control. And theft and vandalism are a real recurring cost specific to equipment that sits unattended in public for months at a time. None of these individually sinks the business. Together, spread across dozens of machines, they define whether a route is actually profitable or just busy. Experienced operators build a maintenance reserve directly into their pricing, roughly $100 to $300 per machine per year, precisely so a single bad compressor does not wipe out a month's profit across the whole route. All right, numbers. Two versions of the same starting point. Scenario 1. You buy one used machine for $2,000, place it in a small office at zero commission as a convenience. It grosses $300 a month. Product cost and card fees take about 40%, leaving $180. Maintenance reserve and restocking time eat into that further. Call it $140 a month of real profit. On $2,000 invested, that is decent, but it is a part-time hobby, not a business, and it depends entirely on one location never changing its mind. Scenario 2. You buy an existing 8-machine route for $18,000, netting roughly $12,000 a year across diversified locations. No single account above a quarter of revenue. At an average 15% commission already priced into that net figure, your job is not selling. It is servicing, restocking, and slowly renegotiating the worst performing contracts. Add 2 more machines to underused capacity on your existing route. Minimal new driving time, and net profit can climb towards $16,000 to $18,000 a year. That is a real small business, with a real multiple if you ever sell it, built by acquiring signed contracts, not by buying shiny new machines. The gap between those two scenarios is not effort. It is whether you were ever actually holding a location or just holding a box that happened to be sitting on someone else's floor. Scale that second scenario to 50 or 100 machines, with route software tracking sales remotely and a part-time driver handling restocking. And vending stops being a side hustle and starts looking like a genuine small logistics company. Very few operators ever get there, not because the model fails, but because most of them stop adding locations the moment the first few machines feel comfortable. So who is this business for? It rewards someone who treats the location contract as the actual product and the machine as a disposable fulfillment device that happens to sit on top of it. It punishes someone chasing a passive income promise from a stranger selling machines and locations he may not actually be able to deliver. The machine was never the business. It never was. The business was always the piece of paper that says you get to stand in that exact spot and nobody else does, for as long as somebody with more leverage than you agrees to let you stay.